Got quite a lot of dress shirts and even some nice button-ups in my closet. But it was pretty obvious what color I was not going to wear for this week's episode. Yes, I obviously was not going to wear a blue button-up shirt for this week's episode because I was playing a team with the mantra "Go Blue" to it. It's Michigan week. So this is a week I have been looking forward to for quite a while. This should be a very exciting game come Saturday. So what it means, of course, is just like the previous weeks, I'm going to do a analysis on what I think Iowa needs to do to win. And before we get started, just please remember, I am a just for fun analyst doing a fun side project. I graduated from the University of Iowa. I love the school, and I just found a fun project to do based off of it. All views in this video are completely of my own. Any views expressed do not represent those of the University of Iowa, any coach, any player, any student, any university official, Big Ten Conference, any media outlet, or anybody whatsoever affiliated with the University of Iowa. All views expressed are completely of my own. All right, it's week 5. Season's really coming along. Conference play is in full swing. Huge game on Saturday for the Hawks. Playing Michigan, a rematch of last year's Big Ten championship game. I'm going to start it off by saying this. Michigan is the one opponent I want Iowa to beat the most this year. Because, I always want Iowa to beat the hated Cyclones and Cornhuskers, and I want them to win every single game, of course, but the one opponent I want Iowa to beat in particular is Michigan. I ended up going to Indianapolis last year, and, I was just heartbroken at the end of the game. I was thinking it was a competitive game with Iowa squeaking out a win, but it just didn't go that way, and it was a devastating, heartbreaking loss for me that day when I went all the way out there and it didn't go as well as I had hoped. Plus, I became a student at Iowa in 2017. Michigan is the only remaining Big Ten opponent Iowa has not beat since I became a student, so that can end this week and I can have all 13 Big Ten opponents defeated when I first joined Iowa in 2017 as a student. So when this week, I can say during my time as a Hawkeye, we've beaten every single conference foe. So let's get going. So Iowa's got to remember how much this team broke their hearts last year. And it honestly still really hurts that the game ended up like that. And I know it hurts bad for myself, hurts bad for the fans, but it hurts even more for the players. Because they're the ones who play into it, and they're the ones who are directly impacted by it. So this is still hurting a lot, and everyone's got to remember that when they're going in against Michigan this week. So the fire has to be there. Hawks need to really go hard and aggressive out there. And Iowa's had some notable moments against Michigan at home, last-second field goals. So 1985, 2016, those were some very notable games in Iowa football history when the Wolverines came into town to Iowa City, and the Wolverines were highly ranked. And in 1985's case, the Hawkeyes were also highly ranked, and Iowa won on a last-second field goal on both games. So 2022, this absolutely can happen again. Now, getting into the offense. This may be an unpopular take, I know, but this week, I am going to say use the tight ends for pass protection. I saw how much Michigan's pass rush just destroyed Iowa last year, so use the extra blockers this week. It's more important to give the guys on the offense more time. Just too many bad plays were given up on that offensive line last year against Michigan's pass rush. And granted, I know they don't have David Ojabo and Aiden Hutchinson anymore, but we've got to get 6- and 7-man pass protections out there this week. Don't let Mike Morris make big plays. He's now Michigan's top threat on the defensive line. Really watch his alignment. He may line up anywhere out there. He's a dual threat defensive lineman. So watch his alignment, watch where he's going, and think about what he might do on that offensive line. But get the tight ends in the pass blocking game this week so there's more time for the offense. Now, another good threat on Michigan's defense. Junior Colson, he's a great linebacker. Got freshman All-American. He is just one more reason why I'm saying utilize the blockers this week. More blockers means more space out in the open field, and Iowa needs as many blockers as they can get. Now, this is another big key. Get separation from Michigan's defensive backs. So, I watched the highlights of the Michigan-Maryland game from last weekend. Maryland threw 2 interceptions into some tight coverage last week. Just don't play a lot of high-risk balls. I'm going to suggest, use some crossing routes. Get the wide receivers and the running backs away from the defensive backs. Get them free from them. And Iowa does call a lot of running back screens. I'm thinking this is a good week to run some. Because they're a 4-2-5 defense. They've got a good defensive backfield. And I remember the 2016 game. I've watched highlights of that game. Iowa got a touchdown just before halftime on a running back screen play against that type of defense. So, really utilize running back screens whenever needed to get the yards. Outside runs, they're also going to be key. I mean, I'm really liking Iowa's improvements in the running game, but this is a great defense. So, I'm going to say, in the running game, Iowa needs to call some sweeps, tosses, reversals, and anything else that is away from those dynamic guys. Challenge those defenders. Really get into the open field to make a play. Use their speed. Challenge them to do so. Now, again, quick routes and runs on the wide receivers. So, I'm really suggesting tight ends need to be used in pass protection primarily this weekend. They need to be used as the extra blocker this weekend. So, Arlen Bruce and all of our other wideouts, just have them run some quick routes, but have them run the ball as well, because wide receiver jet sweeps and reversals, that's also going to play part into challenging Michigan into getting their defenders into the open field. This is quite a very tough defense to beat on the deep ball, so beat them short. Beat them in the short passing game. Oh, again, take occasional shots deep down the field to get them off guard, but you really utilize the short West Coast passing game this weekend. Now, I'm on to the defense. I have to start out with what I started out last week. 4 games, 23 points allowed. I mean, still, this is amazing. But Iowa's defense can't be satisfied. If they continue showing defensive dominance, this could become an all-time historically great unit. The defenders still have to want that week in and week out. Because if they end this season with one of the greatest defenses in college football history, that's immortal. No one can take that away from them. So, really, don't let up on defense. Don't be satisfied. Keep the success going. Okay, this one's rather obvious. You gotta stop Blake Corum. So, he's a very good superstar running back. Michigan's best offensive weapon. I mean, I've seen what this guy can do, and his stats so far, he's got 9 touchdown runs through 4 games. That really says a lot about any running back. Just slow him down at all costs, no matter what you've got to do. Because if he gets into open space, he can out-juke you. He's very good. So the defenders, they've got to be... So anyone behind the defensive line, they've got to be watching what Corum might be doing on any play. Whether if it's pass blocking or if he's going to take a pass, run. And especially if he does run a lot, which I think he will, you got to stop him. He's so good. Now, another big thing. One big play absolutely could lead to the next one for Michigan on offense. As happened last year in Indianapolis. So, Iowa's defense generally started out very well, but found themselves down 14-0 early because Michigan got some long touchdowns on some big plays early in the game. If they get one big play, they can build on with another big play on offense. So don't give up the big plays early, and in fact, don't even give them up at all. Because one big play is just enough momentum for this team to really strike on the offensive side of the ball. Now, another big thing. Just don't give up any short completions. So, J.J. McCarthy, he's got some good passing options to work with. Just don't let those receivers get open for some short completions. And his receivers are good with the ball. They know how to run well in the open field. They've got some great skills beyond just catching the ball. So just don't give up any really short completions. This week, you've just got to make sure those receivers are getting dragged down as soon as they can. Now, another thing on defense. Relentlessness is key. So, opponents like this, they're going to present a back-and-forth battle. And, look, the 2016 Iowa versus Michigan game. Now, yes, that was the last year before I became a Hawkeye, but I've seen highlights of that game. So, yes, that was such a back-and-forth game, and Iowa's defense was just relentless when it needed to be. They created a huge turnover, they got a safety when they needed to. The fight just really needs to be there because this game, Iowa's defense is going to be the ones that are going to keep this game a close game. And that's how we saw it in 2016, and I believe when Michigan last came to Kinnick, and it happened in 2019 when Iowa played in Ann Arbor. I believe that's absolutely going to be the case again. Defense is going to be the ones that are going to keep this game close for the Hawkeyes. And so it's going to go very far. Be relentless on that ball. Just don't cave into what they're doing. Be prepared for Michigan to do anything. Play Iowa football on defense. And look, there's the same ball pursuit and tenacity that we all know. 2 defensive touchdowns last week. You don't have to score on every single turnover, but get to the ball on defense to give the offense a chance and give them good field position or even score on defense whenever you can. That's going a long way this week. Another big thing, Kinnick Stadium crowd. So, I have been to many Hawkeye home games over the last 5 years. So, an opponent that Iowa really badly wants to beat at home, and especially ranked opponents, there's just advantages the visiting team does not know will be there for Iowa. The crowd, I've seen it when Iowa's played Ohio State and Penn State while they're highly ranked, even Wisconsin, and even when Minnesota got highly ranked at Kinnick just a couple years back. The crowd is just absolutely invested into it all. They want this team to take down such a great team, and I gave many examples, but those 2 games in particular where Iowa won against a highly ranked team, crowd was just totally 100% invested into it. That's going to be the case on Saturday. Those who are in the stands for the Hawkeyes, they're just going to be relentless when the Iowa defense is out on the field, because that Hawkeye defense needs all the help it will get from the fans and any game to really slow down the offense, though they're already a great defense. It's always helpful for that Iowa defense to get this help from the crowd. I've seen it on their best defensive performances at home that they still benefit quite a bit from having that huge Kinnick crowd. And this is not a game Michigan wants to be an opponent at Kinnick Stadium for. They don't know what's coming in that crowd, and it may really have a huge advantage. Now, it is that time. Rolldaddy's Big Roll of the Week. This is either a surprise tactic, trick play, or an interesting strategy that I would utilize this week that if I was an Iowa coach, I could catch the opponent off guard and give an advantage to the Hawkeyes. This may be the craziest one I've done yet. Maybe not use it the whole game, but here it is. Pump block on defense. So I've tried this in NCAA football, Madden, and pretty much it's just when you call pump block on a defensive down, 10 down linemen and just the punt returner are all back. And I've seen it work successfully sometimes, believe it or not, because it just hurries the quarterback just to throw the ball, and the receiver's not ready to catch it, and they have to change their play up at the last moment. So this is obviously a really boom or bust strategy. However, if Iowa does this occasionally, it would really limit what Blake Corum can do, and again, he is by far their best offensive weapon. And you can overwhelm the Michigan blockers by having 10 down linemen. You can hurry the quarterback, J.J. McCarthy. So this is obviously a risky strategy, and I seriously don't think this is something they'd actually do, but I would give it a try whenever possible. Because you never know. That might really make Michigan to cause some really bad mistakes on offense that they might not make if Iowa's not using that strategy. And it really makes Iowa unpredictable, something I stress in nearly every game preview video that I do. So there you have it. I appreciate you watching this week's episode. I hope Iowa does get this win. I really want to beat Michigan. You don't know how bad I want Iowa to beat Michigan. And not just for me getting the record saying Iowa's beat every single team in the Big Ten Conference since I became a student in 2017, but how much Michigan just broke my heart in Indianapolis last year. Hawkeye faithful, if you're going to this game, you're going to need to be relentless when that Hawkeye defense is on that field, because they're going to need you to be that this week. They really will. And when that happens, I've seen a lot of good stuff happen from that. So thank you for watching. Have a great day. Let's go Hawks.